Hello, BookTube, and I'm back here this weekend. I'm going to try to do Saturday lives. Mark looks a little different today, um,
I've
but
lost my dog.
Gavin, huh?
I've lost my dog.
Yes. So Gavin's joining me here today, and Mark may show up a little while later if Elvis allows him. You see, we know who wears the trousers in that relationship. Somewhat like Wallace and Gromit. No, that's who wore the oh no, it was Wallace that had the trousers, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
Well,
So
let's
dog
just
wear,
mix it up.
does a dog wear trousers on the front feet or the back feet or all four?
To be just the back. Be just the back. And on the front, that would be a shirt.
Okay.
Hey,
They're all
you
red.
gotta have standards here. You gotta have standards. That's a, that's a good point. Yeah. Uh, because they're oh, why am I thinking about this? Why am I considering it? Oh God, that's where my brain is. Like you just throw something out, and I'm going, huh? So yeah, we well, I guess we could start with weather. Like I was complaining about, it's been raining here, pissing down here in the Northeast all day. What about where you are? Has it been raining or?
We had some this morning, but it's been warm since then. So still
Yeah, no,
a little bit muggy.
yeah, no. It's just it just feels damp. That's the thing. It just feels damp here too, and that's the way it is all winter. It's just damp. Uh, but what have you been reading? I haven't been reading. I haven't been reading anything really at all. So, what have you been up to?
A little bit like this last week because I've been quite busy at the office. But a book I mentioned to you that I'd read, which is Star Smashers of the Galaxy Rangers by Harry Harrison. I read some more Shakespeare, so I'm going to be doing a video, recording it tomorrow for uploading for tomorrow night. So more problem plays. So for Shake-Tember, I'm reading all of the problem plays. And I read a Terry Pratchett inspired play by Stephen Briggs called The Shakespeare Codex. So it has his Discworld characters and it has what they call the Round World characters. So it's got Francis Bacon, Earl of Oxford, William Shakespeare, Kit Marlowe, Queen Elizabeth. They all turn up in it. So I just thought a bit of a mix it up with a bit of a modern play. So I've been reading a lot of. It's either been Elizabethan or modern this month so far. So I've read a fair amount of Elizabethan plays, mostly Shakespeare, some others as well.
So you're reading stuff that was only about 4 or 5 years old then for Elizabethan.
Yeah.
Why not? Why? What is her age going to be called? Is it going to be the second Elizabethan? You know, I don't know.
You know what? I don't think the royals are important enough to define the age anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, Victoria. Well, I suppose Edward would be the last one. No one went the Georgian age for George V or George VI.
Amy's here. Hello.
Hi, Amy.
Yeah, speaking of Shakespeare, I like the one thing where Shakespeare gets a little naughty at times. I forget what play it is where somebody hands the guy. Well, I'm probably misremembering the whole scene, but but it's essentially he gets some handwriting from his girlfriend. He says, "Oh, I can see it's her handwriting. I can see it's the C's, the U's, and T's." And then there's something else, and it's clear. Like it's like, I wonder what he means.
he was trying to be a popular playwright. You've got to try to get people in to see the things. I mean, Much Ado About Nothing is
that where it's from? Or yeah, I'm not sure.
well, no, I don't think that's where it's from. It might be, but just the title of that play is a play on words. Nothing has a different meaning back in Elizabethan times.
Oh, okay. I don't think I knew that one.
Yeah. Much Ado About Nothing is about. Well, it's not about it, but you would either have something between your legs or you'd have nothing between your legs. And this play was Much Ado About Nothing, and
okay.
Everyone is lovelorn in that film, in that play.
Okay, so yeah, he just the body. Oh, what age was he in now? Jesus, my brain's going. Who was the kid? It was the kid. It was what was like? You got Elizabethan age. It is.
Oh yeah, then Jacobean after that. So James
Jacobean,
the First, James the First, James the Sixth, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, so it's like body tales from that period.
There's plenty. So I've been dipping into this as well. So when I've been reading the plays, if there is a corresponding story, I have been looking at the original as well. So there's bits that have come out of Boccaccio, William Painter after Boccaccio. So basically all the stories that he used as the basis for plays. So, Romeo and Julieta, if you can guess which one that is. And Desdemona and the Moorish Captain. Some of them are a few pages long, some of them about 50, 60 pages long. There's some. It's interesting because you can see where he takes stuff, what bits he left out, bits he added in, but just the language still Elizabethan. But when Shakespeare does it, it is objectively just better.
Well, there's the contemporaries of Shakespeare too that I think Penguin's put out, sort of.
Yeah, so this month I had my first experience of Christopher Marlowe. So I read The Jew of Malta because I did The Merchant of Venice. So I thought I'll read The Jew of Malta, as a sort of companion to that. And I read 3 domestic Elizabethan tragedies, 2 of which were anonymous. Both of those anonymous ones had been attributed to Shakespeare previously by people who were probably chancing their arm and trying to sell a few copies. And I can't remember the name of the other playwright, but it was A Woman Killed with Kindness was the play. So been reading a little bit around the stuff, expanding it to more than just Shakespeare for a change.
Well, I like the playwright that does Pity She's a Whore, and the more a later one, The Searchers by the same author. Then it's really good. Two good companions, quality.
Don't tell me The Searchers was written by John Ford. That'd be too crazy.
Well, basically, the novelization was written by Lee Brackett. I think it was Lee Brackett. Yeah, I'm sure it's Lee Brackett. She wrote I'm sure she wrote that. Somebody will probably correct me, but my memory is not always greatest. But so you connect all that stuff in there. But yeah, I remember picking it up for the very first time and knowing The Searchers and stuff like this. John Ford, it's like, yeah, I don't think there's any connection. It's weird how those things happen. But yeah, so yeah, like I say, I haven't read anything. I've been just trying to do some videos and when I can. So if everybody hasn't seen them yet, go watch my the bookshop memory videos, and hopefully I'll get back doing the Pulp Mondays. And Gavin's been putting out every day, um, a little short on getting free books off of Project Gutenberg.
Yeah, well, I just recalled about 20 ago. I then spent ages editing them. But yeah, just I try to get something every day.
Yeah, because while I never used to get shorts showing up on my feed all that often, but now it seems like they're always there. Their shorts always on my feed now.
Even if you click the button that says show fewer shorts, they just keep turning up.
Yeah,
I think that button is redundant. There you go. I mean, they don't do much. They get, some of them get a couple of hundred views, but that doesn't translate to anything other than you do pick up a few subscribers. So I'm not going to stop doing them. And at some point, I do try to put them all in a playlist as well. So at some point, someone will be able to do a whole, year's worth if they were a masochist.
Well, you did the on this day so and so was born.
Yeah,
you do it.
I did a whole year of that, so there's 365 of those.
Yeah, Nancy's saying here. Yeah, the novel was written by Alan LeMay, and I read that a couple of years ago, I think, as a novel, and it is extremely different, very different than the film. In some ways I liked it, but some ways I didn't. I'm sort of was a bit ambivalent about it, but it's definitely one of my favorite westerns, that's for sure. Sorry, going back to the shorts, the birth one. And as I said to you, you need to do a whole year of death ones too. That'll be probably easy to do. R.I.P.
I should do those around Halloween, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, actually, talking about birth, I think it's today. I just saw something. Hank Williams Sr. was born on this day. Whenever that was, 19. Well, it was 29 when he died, so you can figure that out. But yeah, and also this month is 50 years that Scooby Doo first aired. I think they were saying there were so many years.
How much is that in dog years?
Ooh, that's a good.
You never saw him wearing trousers.
No,
I don't think you did.
It was too high. They were too high to wear clothes. Yeah, good old days of. You wonder why they were always having the munchies.
Yeah, well, I don't mind it when cartoons do that. If you're, when our kids were young, you would watch something and it's like, yeah, that's going to be over your head. Just a little something in some of these, only in some, but in some of these cartoons, something for the adults.
There was a weird one that was done in the 60s in Canada with Vincent Price. Amy might have seen this, but I don't know when they sort of stopped playing them. It's the hilarious House of Frank. It's not Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein, or it's something like that. It's Hilarious House of Frankenstein, basically. And it had, it was like it had a werewolf that was tripped out on LSD, basically. It was just absolutely bizarre. Like it was a drug trip from beginning to end. And Vincent Price was in it. They had a Dracula character with the Frankenstein's monster. They had an sort of nutty professor that actually did actual mini lecture on actual real science, usually physics or something like that. and they made a bunch of these like over like a couple months, and whoever did it, like, you know, they've been played for like 20, 30 years constantly. It's just really weird. If you're Canadian, you know it, and I don't know if it ever got played anywhere else. I think they're all available on YouTube, but yeah, hilarious.
I've never heard of that one.
Oh,
I think Groovy Ghoulies I knew about. That's the old Hanna-Barbera one.
I don't think I know that one.
Ah, okay. I hope I haven't just invented it. I'm sure it existed.
Yeah, well, it doesn't mean that if I don't know it doesn't mean that it didn't exist, but I didn't see it. Like it's funny where you see these, you know, younger people that are 30 or younger and mid 30s and younger sort of reevaluating old things, like old songs. They're listening, what were the lyrics? And it's like, yeah, they were always there. And or cartoons, you know, old cartoons like Hanna-Barbera or any of the other cartoons, and it's like, yeah, today, yeah, they wouldn't pass. They wouldn't pass muster, because the subject matter was either very innuendo, I guess. That's it. Yeah, Nancy. That's it. Yeah, Hilarious House of Frightenstein. Yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was something similar, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's worth watching if anybody wants to. Like I said, it's a pure LSD trip. Like basically the whole thing, because they even have the Wolfman character playing guitar on something, and it's, I think, if do you remember White Rabbit video that Jefferson Airplanes did, and it's all, it's like kaleidoscope, you know, background and stuff like this, and that's what they did every time he was playing guitar, like the background. So they just stole it from, I'm assuming they stole it from that, or maybe vice versa. I don't know which came first.
I'm trying to think of the UK equivalent. I mean, we did have the Magic Roundabout. So, yeah. I mean, that was French originally, but when they dubbed it into English, they just made it their own. And the rabbit in that was called Dylan, and he played guitar, and he was always a little bit spaced out.
Yeah, there's some really weird British ones that I've seen little clips of. One that I sort of like, it's not British, is Pingu. I love Pingu.
Yeah, that I'm aware of it. I don't think I've watched a lot. I was too old to watch it, and it was over and done with by the time my kids were watching kids TV. So, it's like the Teletubbies. I know they exist.
Oh God,
but
no.
They just didn't appear on my radar.
No, they don't exist. I'm sorry. That's just some demented dream that somebody had, and they've tried to make everybody believe they existed. God, yeah. Isn't there one about a garden or something like that?
In the Night Garden? Oh yeah, God, yeah. No, I watched that. That was a favorite. Not of mine, but it was a favorite. So Iggle Piggle and the Tomblyboos and the Wattingers and the Pontypines, Upsy Daisy and Macapaca. There you go. I think that's everyone. I might have missed somebody off, but and narrated and all done by Sir Derek Jacobi.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's so weird. It's as weird as what's the was it? It was Ringo Starr that did Thomas the Tank Engine. Yeah.
I think this is it. The UK ones always get the right narrators for things. So the Wombles had Bernard Cribbins.
Yeah.
The Mr. Men had Arthur Lowe from Dad's Army. And Rhubarb and Custard had Richard Bryars. And John Le Mesurier from Dad's Army did one as well. I can't think what it is at the moment. But you always had...
Well, doomed. It's going to be...
Oh, no. He was Wilson, Sergeant Wilson. He was the second in command. The posh guy.
Yes. Yeah. That wasn't him that said we're doomed. Yeah. Oh, yeah. John
Laurie, who was Private Fraser, We're Doomed. He was a proper classical actor. He'd been in the RSC with Olivier, and he was the real deal.
Well, I love seeing stuff like in the 30s, like old small little films, and he shows up occasionally as, just this exaggerated Scottish accent character for just sometimes just a few seconds on the screen, and you go, "Oh, I know who that is." So that's funny to see. The Mersey, whatever his name was, because he lived on a couple streets over where I lived in Bedford. Like he grew up there, I think, and so did. Who else was in Bedford for a little while? Oh, I can't think of the name. But there were a number of these big comedians that for some reason their parents stayed for a little while in Bedford. I can't think of his name. I was going to say Benny Hill, but it's not Benny Hill. The big Ronnie. Ronnie Barker.
Ronnie Barker.
Yeah, I think Ronnie Barker stayed there for a little while. And again, I could be wrong. It's just there was somebody that showed up, and that reminded me because I've always wanted to get Ronnie Barker's. He did a book on seaside postcards, and I've always wanted like the naughty seaside postcards, and I've always wanted to get that. But it looks like they might have reprinted that. I'm gonna have to chase that up sometime. Because I think the original one is going to be a little pricey for what it is. But yeah, and that's the other thing. These people did strange things like that. Was it him that did was it Ronnie Barker or is it Benny Hill that did it? Who did the postcard one? Now I'm confused.
It sounds more on brand for Benny Hill.
Yeah, I'm now questioning myself because of my faulty memory.
I've never heard of the book, so I can't help you. But
yeah. No, it's just the way my memory is. Like I explained it one time to someone, and I thought it was pretty good, and now I can't remember how I explained it. It was like my memory's so bad that I always remember the fact that it's probably going to be wrong or something like that.
Well, the street I used to live on when I lived in Streatham had a blue plaque up. Tommy Trinder used to live on that road, who's like a music hall comedian, but made a few films in, I think, like the late 30s and during the 40s. But if I got on the bus to work, I would go past the house that Charlie Chaplin grew up in. So you probably don't get bigger comedians than that. So
yeah. No, where I'm living here, apparently, according to Wikipedia, I think some cricketer lived here, some sort of.
Oh, which one?
Oh, I don't know.
We need to know. I need to know.
Let me see, because it's sort of a minor level, I think, or middle level, I guess. Let's see here. See if I
shall be reading a book by a cricketer next month for Victober, because he also happened to be Jane Austen's nephew.
Oh, okay. Notable people. Okay. No, it's not a cricketer. I thought it was good. It's Alfred Myers, ironstone miner, one of the Richmond 16. First World War conscientious objectors. That's who's a notable person for here. I thought it was a cricketer for some reason. But yeah, you got a conscientious objector that they're known for here. And will my name be down here as a poet written one book that failed?
Well, if you make your own plaque, yeah.
Yeah, put it
Just put it on the door.
What's this? What's this here? Demographics of Tees Valley. Uh, don't understand. It's a population pyramid. Well, at least like I think there was like about 1,200 people that lived in here in this village. So by me moving in, I probably made the biggest percentage of a population that I ever did in my life by moving somewhere.
Is it a little bit monoculture?
I think so. Yeah, it's but it's kind of funny that one of my nurses that come her father was born here and grew up just like a street over, in one of the houses that's still there, and it's like but that's I don't know. It's the thing of where families don't, English families don't never really moved very far. They centuries later they're still in the same area.
One of the factory jobs I had when I was during the summers when I was at university, there was one guy who was called Jerry Eddington from Eddington. And it's just like, okay, so your family's been there quite some time. And probably the broadest Wiltshire accent you'll ever have heard. And because so Eddington is Ethandune, which is the spot, the Battle of Ethandune, where Alfred the Great started to beat the Danes. And to celebrate, they put a white horse on the hill, which someone recut in the 18th century. They decided it looked a bit too pagan, so they made it look more like a normal horse.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. That's better than putting red lines on it, but that's another story. Oh, what's this here? Can't reference. I can't find reference to a book specifically about Saucy Postcard, Benny Hill, or Ronnie Barker. Barker did write the intro to a more general book about postcards. Oh, okay. I thought because one of them actually collected postcards, the Saucy Postcards. At least that was my understanding. And then there was a book published that they put out. But again, it might not be Benny Hill or Ronnie Barker. My memory is just absolutely shot, so I'm not sure at this point. Then I'll have to come back. I'll have to think about it, like in the next week or something like that. At the odd moment, and all of a sudden, bing! It's just like the synapses will connect, and I'll know who and what I'm talking about. Which I obviously don't at the moment. Oh yeah, talking about people not moving. Like, what's that? Like, it's a real story, but I never can remember where it is. But it's somewhere in the south of England here, where they found, I think it was an Iron Age skeleton, and they did a DNA test on it, and they found that the descendant of that person still lives in the village and was a teacher. Like several thousands of years later, the descendant still lives there. And it's like,
I mean, I suppose it's what you call the poverty of ambition. It's how in all of those generations has not one person thought, nah, fancy a change. How great was medieval England that no one thought, I just want to move 20 miles down the road.
Meanwhile, you got my family that's said us we're moving all around the bloody world and then coming back, and that's the weird thing that I find that a different branch of my family. I think I mentioned it before that they were from sort of Yorkshire area, and they came back and when they were old, and then I'm in Yorkshire now. And it's like, how did that work out? I did not do this, so there must be something genetic there. I don't know.
I hope that doesn't always apply. I'm going to find myself back in Bavaria.
Oh, here. Uh, they say it's very possible there are a couple of books about those postcards, but not by a famous comedian. But I was relying on the Amazon search. Yeah, I don't. I just can't. There was something, and for some reason I was thinking it was Ronnie Barker. My phone's gone.
Anyway, so that's something else I've been reading this month. As Dave is on, is he's hooked me up with Meteor Publishing. So I've been dipping into more Philip Jose Farmer in this last month. So I read Time's Last Gift. I read it by accident because I thought it was another book. So then I had to read that book, which was A Feast Unknown, which, blimey, that's a bit of a trip, that book.
Well, have you read The Lovers, or what's the one with flesh in the title? Those are very weird ones.
Got The Lovers somewhere. I think I've got The Lovers in my needing to be read pile over there, but I've got Strange Relations.
Yeah.
Wind Whales of Ishmael. Something which I think might be a little bit more tied into the Jose Farmer I've been reading recently. That's Lord Tiger. I had something. Flesh, Keepers of the Secrets, Makers of the Universes. No. Well, I've got Dare. But I've probably ended up reading more Philip Jose Farmer than any other author, other than Shakespeare, in this last year. Or maybe Zane Grey, one of the two. But A Feast Unknown is crazy. I read that because I'd read Savageology last month, which collection of pieces about his association with Doc Savage and rewriting some pieces and writing new pieces for Doc Savage. And then this he's got his character Doc Caliban, who is a proxy for Savage, which is the stuff I've been reading this month. But takes that character in some directions.
Yeah, I like Farmer, but in the sense of that he's worth reading. But some of the stuff it's not great, but it's definitely interesting. Like I would say, because he's one of about half a dozen writers that I would love to sit down and just read everything by like chronologically, and he's one of those, and because I think it's worthwhile, but he is very prolific. Like, I've seen 2 or 3 different collections of short stories, and they're different ones, but they must add up to 4,000 pages, and they're different volumes. Like there's stuff that hasn't been published, as well as different versions of the stories, because he like a lot of people, not as bad as A.E. Van Vogt, but he liked changing things, and like look at the Riverworld, the evolution of that story. It's all over the place.
Wow.
It is just called Flesh. That's it. Yeah, it's just called Flesh. Yeah.
So the Riverworld is one I will be finishing. I've got that. I've got Gods of Riverworld to finish to read this year, then I'll have done the lot. I mean, I suppose I've done the whole lot anyway, because the story ends at the end of book 4, but there is a book 5, so I want to read more about it because it's just so rich. I mean, it's a little indulgent, but I don't mind that indulgence because he is just taking whoever he wants from history. When you do pastiche, I mean, he had to call his Tarzan character Lord Grandriff. He had to call his Doc Savage character Doc Caliban, because these are fictional characters. You can't use them, but real people absolutely fill your boots. So you know, you want Richard Burton as a character, just have him. You want Mark Twain, you want Alice Hargreaves, you want Lee Poe, you want anybody, as long as they're dead. You can't libel them.
Yeah, I've been trying to collect the Riverworld stuff. There's still some of the Worlds of If magazines that I need to get, because they're the sort of novelettes that then went into um, the first book and second book. But he changed them obviously for that. And then you've got the original story, which is lost. And then he rewrote it again, and that might have been I can't remember what the full sort of evolution of it is. But Shasta Press put out Riverworld, I think, and then the original, the earliest novella. So that's out there too. And I what I want to do is get them all together and and just read them that way. And as Dave says here, there's two anthologies of Riverworld, Shared World or Shared Universe, and I think in each one there's at least one of them might have 2 farmer stories, but there's also Riverworld and other stories, I think, and that's one of the earlier versions of Riverworld, I think, too.
I mean, it's a great playground for expanded universes. You know, if you want people writing, because it's such a big area, and you're not going to see the people from upstream ever impacting the people from downstream unless you want to. So you can use it for anything, with anybody from history, as long as they haven't already been picked, I suppose. But there's a lot of history to choose from.
Yeah, well, I was surprised that there is only 2 anthologies that were done, because you'd think it's something that they, some publisher would just knock this stuff out, because you just ask authors to do something like that, just, pick a historical character and do it, and not even a historical character, because everybody's resurrected here. So
yeah, so what do I want to do today? Karl Marx and Julius Caesar solve crimes. And
yeah, exactly.
There you go. There's a series. And given how Farmer was in using other people's intellectual property, I don't think he could have much of a problem with saying, do you know what? Just go ahead. Just have fun with it.
There's I think it's in Riverworld and other stories, he writes a little introduction to, he's got one called JC on the Dude Ranch. It's Jesus Christ on the Dude Ranch. And apparently, I guess it came about in correspondence with Robert Bloch. And he asked him, Farmer was asking him a question about a book. Have you read this? I think. And it's like a book that I don't think exists or something. And the flippant answer was, well, you might as well ask me if I've read, Jesus Christ on the Dude Ranch, and then Farmer goes, hey, can I use that? And yeah, it's just hilarious. Oh, it's a warped story too, if anybody's yeah. I watched one that was, I guess, a mini series type thing of Riverworld. It was really bad, but I've never seen the other one, and I didn't even know they existed until about 5 or 6 years ago. I never knew they existed. But yeah, I've only seen the one, and it was bad.
I can't imagine anything doing it justice without a massive budget. And if I had a massive budget, I would probably have heard about it.
Well, the one I watched, I think it was a mini series, or at least it was more longer than a normal film. And Richard Burton wasn't even, he wasn't there. And I think in the second part, Samuel Clemens, but that was it. And yeah, there's, because I don't even know if they used his name either as Samuel Clemens or Mark Twain, because it was just some guy with a riverboat, with a paddle boat. and if I remember right, the antagonist was, the bad guy was some Roman emperor or something like that, I think, or failed Roman emperor. It was just absolutely diabolically bad. So I don't know what the other one was like.
Well, I don't think I'll waste my time watching either of them.
Well, I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound. So I've seen one. I would probably try to watch the other, but
don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself.
Well, at least I can say, what is it? Yeah, Jesus on Mars is a good book. Yeah, Meteor House published the first hardcover edition not that long ago. Yeah, just bizarre stuff.
He must have had so much fun. He just lets his not everything is perfect, but he just lets his imagination absolutely run riot. He's a very good what if. And the Riverworld is such a great construction.
Yeah, and I know, like, there's people that when I first encountered it, must have been sometime in the early 90s, I guess it was. Yeah, I think I read it in the early 90s, and I really loved it. And I gave it to a few other people, and they just, oh, it's just this stupid thing about anthropology doesn't work this way. People, cultural, it wouldn't work. Like, all these people working together and stuff like this. I'm going, what are you talking about? It's just a fun story, But
I don't think Esperanto would ever catch on.
Yeah. It's just, I remember exactly when I found that book. It was like there was a couple really good bookshops. Well, maybe I should save this for my bookshop memories. But anyway, huge wall of science fiction, and I just go, and if there was stuff I didn't know, the new stuff, especially new stuff that came in, and the title, which I knew who Philip Jose Farmer was, but to their scattered bodies I go, that reminds me of something. And then I found out later what poem it was from, and I knew that's the connection. So I pulled it off the shelf, and as soon as I saw that it was Richard Francis Burton as the main character, that book was mine. I didn't care, because I love anything that's fictionalized with Burton. There's have you ever read the steampunk Burton and
No.
Swinburne mysteries? Oh, those are fun too. Those are really good. I haven't read them all. I've only read up to a certain point, but those are really fun. And yeah, anything that he's a character in, I'm game for, because I just thought he was a character in real life. So therefore,
Well, but I say you don't need to really rely on sort of fictionalized stuff to spice up his biography. It's full enough anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think he's so good for it, because yeah, you go, okay, well, what fantastical thing or what outrageous thing can I make him do that he hasn't already done? you know,
Yeah.
you have to add that part. So yeah, no, I love that. Uh, I'm still trying to do or finish off the Simac one, and that's going to be a long time project of reading everything sort of chronologically. Um, and I was thinking once I started did that, what or maybe concurrently, who else to read, and I keep thinking of him, but I think it would be too big of a project to collect
I
everything.
think getting hold of some of that stuff would be really difficult.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he's you don't find it in any of the new bookshops. I don't know. That's probably my reading taste rather than the bookshop's fault. But I'll always keeping an eye out in the secondhand shelves.
I'm surprised that somebody hasn't, especially his short stories like Hafner Press or maybe even the Nesfa haven't done several volumes of his complete because they've done like Jack Williamson. You know, they've done not just the short stories, they've done everything. Edmund Hamilton, everything.
Well, I mean, there's Meteor House building a huge body of um, farmer stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, Dave said, yeah, this would be, yeah, he would
Yeah,
make that. That is, yeah, that's a super idea. So, yeah, he would. He definitely would. That's
well,
why I thought it worked really well for the Swinburne and the Burton and Swinburne mysteries.
so much sort of esoteric knowledge that and arcane knowledge that he had at his disposal. And the facility for languages. I mean, he's a polymath. Always makes a good detective.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. But I that's the thing. Has anybody done it? You would think somebody would have, but maybe just nobody has thought of it.
Yeah, gonna have to have a look, but maybe you could write a Riverworld story where Richard Burton meets up with the other Richard Burton. Have some of that homemade brew that they're always making.
Who else would be an interesting one for him to meet? Trying to think now. Oh, well, I guess there's so many, but
Oh, W.G. Grace.
jeez.
Sorry to bring it back to cricket, but he's a Victorian character everybody knows.
Wasn't he hit by lightning, or is that how he died, or something like that? There's some lightning involved somewhere in his life, I think.
Well, I don't know that one.
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else, as usual. No, I like a good short story would be for Burton to meet Isabel again on Riverworld. You did what with my notebooks?
I don't know that doesn't happen in the fifth book. It's
Oh, I can't remember. Maybe it does. Maybe that's why I thought of it. I don't remember a lot of the stuff that happens. I remember certain things. I remember him when he's being chased and stuff like this. In order to get away, it's just you go into the river and he drowns himself. So he just commits. He's a serial suicider if there is such a person or a way to do it.
yeah, that bit was crazy and a little bit dark, but it was almost like it was a computer game at that point. It's like the literary equivalent of Minecraft. So you had to build everything from the materials that are around you. Whenever you die, you come back to life in a different part of the world, and it only extends so far. It's like an old style computer game.
Yeah, they'll probably get this now banned on here talking about suicide. You can't say that on the internet anymore. You can't say somebody died; they're unalived, and all this kind of stuff.
I don't care. I don't keep up with the lingo. It's. I mean, the thing is, if you use another word for it, people just they can make the machine listen for that word as well. You're not being as clever as you think you are.
No, I really, sorry, I keep going back to this.
You're in
Birth as
writing
a
mode
cult,
now.
yeah, cult detective. That is absolutely fabulous because I don't read enough of that stuff, and my favorites are the old favorites of Karnacki, the Ghost Finder, and John Silence. I sort of probably my biggest ones.
Well, I'm sort of building up to all that for not too long. 11 days time. A cult
Yeah,
detective October.
that's scary. I think Dave, didn't you mention that there was this um, the Karnacki one that somebody else either again my memory's bad. Either that was going to be reprinted, the ones that somebody else did some Karnacki stories, or there's a new collection of Karnacki stories in the works or coming out.
Well, there you go. Got your answer.
There's a good series of occult detective novels featuring Johnson and Boswell by Andrew Neil McLeod. Ah, okay. Yeah, you see, yeah, that's workable as well. It doesn't. They don't even need to be occult detectives. They just, they work fine. Just detectives.
I'm sure Johnson and Boswell's almost an abusive relationship, though.
Well, it's the whole thing. Like it's now. See, again, I'm getting confused with memory of the stories and the TV shows. Like always, Sherlock Holmes is always in the Jeremy Brett series, calling um, Watson his Boswell. Does he actually do that in the stories? But anyway, that's just an
I'm
extension of
trying to remember. It's so long since I've read the stories.
it.
I mean,
But
it sounds like the kind of thing he'd say. I do need to reread some Conan Doyle, but I want to read the
because
challenges first. I want to finish the Brigadier Gerard first. I read the first collection of the Brigadier Gerard. They are so good.
you've got the little omnibus, don't you? It's a little omnibus of
No,
the Shakespeare
I,
stories.
I, I did have just like the first collection. It was a hardback, which is now sort of in the garage. But I think that was just the first collection. There was a second set, which I don't have, but I should be able to get that
Oh,
from Gutenberg.
how many books are there? I thought there was only like four or
I
something.
think I think there were two collections of Brigadier Gerard. There's so he started, so he wrote them over about, I think it's like 15, 20 years. So he did some in the very, very late Victorian,
Okay.
and then they bleed over into the Edwardian. But
Okay.
I think I think it was, he went away and wrote some of that after he killed Holmes off. Then went back to writing Holmes, and then once that come to an end again, went back to Gerard. So he went back to these characters. But I'll tell you the omnibus I do have, because I'm going to be reading some
Because
of
you got
this.
the Challenger one
I
too.
got the Challenger
Yeah,
omnibus.
yeah, I have that one. Yeah, yeah, I have that one.
I mean, I've read the Lost World, but I haven't read the others. So Challenger is just great, and I think it is an absolute crime that Brian Blessed never got to play him. If ever a man was made for a part, it was. I read Challenger and I see Blessed.
I went to a sort of signing a convention in Milton Keynes, and they did it in, I guess it was a football stadium, that's just outside of Milton Keynes. It's a big place, and he was there because he was signing stuff from as Hawkman or whatever the characters from Flash Gordon, and he's like at one end of the thing, and and then you can walk all around. They had all the other presenters or the people signing all the way around, and I was then at the other end with Richard Keel, and I could hear Brian Blessed at the other end, as if somebody's standing right beside you talking. Jesus Christ. And it's not put on. He's loud.
Yeah. He is the guy that does the audio books for large prints.
Yeah.
I'm
Brian Blessed. Brian Bloody Blessed.
He is knocking on a bit now, but he still seems to be, just full of beans, shall we say.
I love the little thing that he did with I think it was a Stephen Fry or so. It's part of something else, but I've seen a few clips recently where I guess they had a psychologist or someone there that pain. If you swear while you're having pain, you can endure more pain. And he's sticking his hand in ice water, stuff like that. It's just hilarious. Anyway, Brian Blessed, yeah, he would work. But then again, they did have some pretty good ones, especially on the first Lost World. They had what's his name? Senior. No. Oh, I can't remember anyway, my memory's gone. But on the first silent one,
I wouldn't know for the silent ones, but James Robertson Justice would have done a good job of it as well.
Oh yeah, he would have. Yeah, he would have done well too. Karnak collection you're referring to is a reprint, revised and expanded of the first ever pastiche by A.F. Kidd and Rick Kennett. So has that been reprinted, or it's because I can't remember now, because I just hate the fact that there are hardly any Karnaki stories, because I really love the character and I wish there was a lot more, but Hodgson didn't. Yeah, it was William Hope Hodgson, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. But he hardly wrote anything. What did he write? 10 or 11 or something like that? It'll initially be issued as a backers only extra to my Silence project, which will either be at the end of this year or next year. Yeah, Silence is another one. I love John Silence and Karnaki. And you just kind of wonder why some of these characters. Well, I'm sort of glad, I guess, but you think that why isn't there just a huge pastiche thing of them? Like look at Sherlock Holmes. Like how many pastiche novels and stories are there of Sherlock Holmes? It's dwarfs the original.
Because there's just a lot more name recognition. That's why.
Yeah, but make Karnaki that way, and Silence, and I'm sure there's other people that have their own pet ones they like the best as well. Once the Kickstarter is done, we'll be redoing it as Cat Haven Press Edition.
Excellent. I mean, one I've committed. Oh, shut up, Alexa. One I am going to be reading is Flaxman Low by Ian H. Heron, which is Hesketh Pritchard and his mum. Alexa, stop. Computer, stop. There you go. I think I ended up calling that one Computer because I just got bored with people saying Alexa.
There's quite a lot of Karnaki pest. Oh, is there? Okay. Well, you see, I don't know these things. Uh, and I just don't read enough of it. And yeah, I like that kind of stuff, but it's just something that I don't get into that often. And um, yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. I just like I've always said that I never really cared for horror that much, but I love ghost stories, which is horror. I love Karnaki. I love some of this early stuff, but when most people talk about horror though, or I guess what I like better would be, I guess now it's becoming more acceptable as weird fiction. I guess it would fit under maybe better. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of the weird horror. I see weird and horror pretty much as the same thing. Maybe I'm just misnaming horror. There is just a massive spectrum of it.
Yeah,
The British Library anthologies are
they're great. I like them.
fairly tame in horror stakes, but they're brilliant ghost stories.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I love
mean,
those.
I'm sure there's going to be there are some as well where it gets a little bit visceral as well, but just by the dint of the time that they were written, they couldn't be that graphic.
They said to send a list to John Lidwood Grant edited. Why do I know that name?
Because
John
he
Lidwood
is
Grant.
the other editor of a cult detective magazine. Am I making that up?
Oh,
I don't think
okay.
I'm making that up.
Sorry, like I don't make any. It's my memory is just so bad half the time that I can't connect it. And now you say that, okay, yeah. There's things that I can't connect at times. My brain just.
Dave will confirm it. I could be wrong. No, he bloody isn't. So,
Oh, what we? Oh, yeah, but the weird. So you say when most people talk about horror, or people that I've known, I should say, getting on BookTube has changed my view of people who like horror because there's a lot of people who like stuff that I do. But people that I had grown up and knew, when they talked about horror, all they talked about was stuff like um, Stephen King, all this sort of post, 1960s stuff. And I never really was a huge fan of that stuff. So I always said I'm not really, like horror that much. Uh, Horror includes nutters with axes, which doesn't do it. Yeah, that's the thing. See, to me, that's horrific, but it's not horror because to me, I always feel that it has to have a supernatural element, and I got to be in the minority with that. I know lots of people do think that, but
no, I much
oh
prefer.
yes, he is. Um,
There you go. Cool. I like.
I
I mean,
can't do my best Monty Python um, uh, for that either. But anyway,
uncanny would be the catch-all term, probably.
yeah, yeah.
That's your weird ghost horror crossover. Hello, Roy.
Talking about the weird, Roy shows up. We're talking about the weird um, series that the British Library is doing because Roy, I think don't you keep up with them? Like he's been buying every single one. I think as they come out.
I think Roy had a subscription.
Ah, okay. I've got maybe 10 or 11. I don't have them all, but they've done some great series. They've done that. Mike Ashley's science fiction one, but I think that's ended. I don't think they've been putting out new ones of that.
I haven't
Uh,
seen any for a while, but
and they've remaindered a whole bunch. So it makes me think that it's
yeah.
dead.
I did a video this morning, which won't be going up until next year, on one of the British Library science fiction. So I did one I read back in July. It's going to be part of my Science Fiction Century. 1927 is Muriel Yeager. So I did The Man with Six Senses, which is really good. I mean, that was unearthed by Mike Ashley, or just remembered by Mike Ashley.
Yeah, he's got a really
they had
good.
2 of her books in that series. They're both good.
I think I've got all the science fiction ones. I think I'd have to get them all together and sort of check a list. But Roy is saying, yeah, he's missed a few of the weird ones. I definitely have missed a lot, and they're still putting them out, so I don't have them. The third series that they've done, I think, is great. Is the crime series. I don't know where they're up to, but they've got to be up to.
There's loads and loads. I picked a few up secondhand week before last, and so there is a I've got a book haul video, which probably is up right now. It's just come up, where I've shown the latest ones I got. But they do like the Christmas themed ones as well. So I had one last Christmas. I've got another one for this Christmas. And the horror ones do Christmas themed ones as well. So I read 2 of those last year.
There was what's the American publisher that did the 2 massive volumes of Mysteries of London that I've got. Oh, I can't remember the name of the publisher.
Valancourt,
yes, thank you. They put out for several years little volumes of ghost stories, like Victorian ghost stories, and those are really good. But Roy is saying they're getting very specialized haunted elbows.
Yeah, there's
if they do put out a title like that, I definitely want to buy it. I want that one for sure.
They are. I mean, there was one, I haven't read it recently, on fungal weird, and it's some of them, yes, you can have some stuff where that whole sort of fungal side of things, or the mushroom weird side of things, is prevalent. But I'm thinking there's probably also just that someone has a fry up that has mushrooms in it in this ghost story, so we'll stick that in. Stuff where it's not if it's not the central theme, you might feel a little bit shortchanged. But I don't. You very rarely read a Duff story in those collections.
Yeah, no, I like them. And going back to the crime ones, I've got like 60 some or 70. Like I've got, because they put them out in series, I think. And I bought, like, there was a place on eBay. It was like, it had to have been a remainder place, but it was like something in the title was like bundles of books or something like that. And they had like the first 4 series or something like this for like, they were selling them for like £10. So I bought like 60 some different titles of this crime one for just over £20. I couldn't believe the price, and it's like, and I get this huge box of these things, from this one place, and it's like I've got stacks of them still upstairs, but it's like I don't have the space for them. Like I'll put up what Dave says there, space, but it's like when you get them for that kind of price, it's hard to say no to them.
I'm sure that not every one of these is going to be a winner, but they are just so much. They look really great.
Yeah.
And for some people it's going to be nostalgia. For some people it's going to be evocative. For some people it's just going to be a genre interest. It's just a winning combination, and it was ephemeral stuff at the time. These are the paperbacks people would just be picking off the newsstand for their train journey home, and probably didn't last much longer than that train journey. They're not massive tomes.
Like Dave says, yeah, I'd like them all, but I don't have the space for books when I already have most of the contents. Yeah, I don't have the contents, and then I have to take into account the other books in the series. I think repeat stories that were in it. Oh, do they? Oh, I didn't know that. That's a bit disappointing that they are repeating stories.
I suppose, yeah, there's probably compelling reasons for some, but if it's just space filling, it's not great when they're a tenner each new.
Yeah, they need to do this stories.
I mean,
Series.
that is pretty specialized.
Yeah. Royce is here. Every other one includes W.H. Hodgson. Oh, really? See, I haven't noticed that. I haven't noticed that because I've not. I don't even think I've read one volume all the way through. All I've done is read bits and pieces through them. I don't think I've read a full volume, so I haven't noticed that. That's a bit disappointing, though. That's disappointing. But you think something like that, like it seems to be popular and successful because they're continuing it. And I'm really disappointed in the science fiction one that they haven't continued with that because there's so much stuff they could do. There's an American series. I don't know if they're continuing it with them, but they're more novels that MIT was doing. What do they call it? The Radium Age or something like that. So they were putting out
Yeah.
a lot. I've got the first 5 or 6. I was given them. Somebody got them as review copies in London that contacted me. Maybe 10 I might have. And they're great. They're great titles.
I've got the first 2 anthologies of shorts. I mean, they had Hamptonshire Wonder was one of them, I think. No, sorry. There's a J.D. Beresford one, but it isn't the
There is,
Hamptonshire Wonder.
yeah.
It's I forget what it's called. I think the subtitle is A World Without Women. I can't remember what the hell it's called, but it's one of these where it sounds like it's the children of men, but sort of written 70 years beforehand. It's it's just it's one gender is dying out, and sort of the decline of civilization off the back of that. But there's the Clockwork Man is in that series.
Yes, yeah.
There's some sort of is it Bengali science fiction? I think there's something like that.
Something, yeah. There's an Africa, there's a couple Africa or Afrocentric, I guess, ones I think they did. But I think they're keeping to the 20th century. I think they're keeping it to the teens and 20s, I think. Tor has done a neat, but it's only ebooks. They've gone back to Victorian times, but their translations, a lot of them from French and German stuff that you don't see. And then you've got what's his name that translated tons of stuff. Or I kind of wonder what's his name. Science fiction writer that translated a bunch of stuff. Oh, I can't think of his name.
Not sure.
Oh, I can't think of his name. But anyway, like he's got if you look on his Wikipedia page of all the translated works, but he's translated so many things from French, like French science fiction. There's one that to Venus, I think, that could be it's one of the very first science fiction things that actually mentions about rockets and having stages, I think, going.
So Flammarion? Not Flammarion. Is it French or German?
It was French.
There's Flammarion. I think he did a fair amount on rockets and stuff. But
I think that's the thing, because he says I can't. Is it Staberford? Staberford? Yeah, Brian Staberford.
All right.
I think it is. Yeah, and he says it's the first one. I think on the book, but I think there is. It is. There are a couple earlier ones, and I think there are German ones that are earlier that talk about this.
Because I know there's a treading on your territory here, but there is a 1929 German film, Fritz Lang, Woman in the Moon, or Woman in the Moon,
Yes, yeah,
where that is the first film with multi-stage
it is.
rockets,
Yeah,
and the first film with a countdown for blast off as well.
yeah, yeah. It's a really good film, but I think it is. And then you get some other ones that are kind of funny where. Where are they going? Are they going to Venus? It's like 1919, a German film, and it's just like a big block, a big box. Their spaceship, and there's like little wings on it. They're flying up, and it's just hilarious. It's hilarious. Let's see. I can't help wonder if an Amos Jelke story by Sidney Chambers would ever appear in one of these books. I'll let Gavin explain that one. Yeah, I
Well,
don't
they're sat on it. They're sat on it at the British Library, so there's no reason they can't. I think someone just needs to remind them that they're there. So I took some. Well, the scanners at the British Library weren't working, so I took some pictures of some of these stories for Dave. I don't know if they were ever usable, but it's Adventures of a Ghost Hunter. It's from the Marvel magazine, or the Halfpenny Marvel magazine. So it's 19th century periodical. I was more trying to line up the pictures rather than reading it, but there's volumes and volumes of this stuff. But in every other issue, there was one of these Amos Jelke stories.
Interesting, because I wonder then if the London Library. Well, that made me think of the London Library, because I want to get a subscription to them because they'll mail you books, and you can get any of their 19th century periodical. Well, probably they will limit some, but you could take them out. So I wonder if they've got a run of stuff like that that you could actually take out and spend time then copying or reprinting. I think there's lots of possibilities for that, not just detective ones. Yeah, Brian Stableford. Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. He translated, a ton of French pulp for Black. Oh, it was a Black Coat Press. Yeah, like the list that he did. He couldn't have slept in his life in order to have done all this stuff.
He was editor of some series as well. I think the covers were all the same. It was like a brown cover with a yellow line drawing of an airship on it. And I read science fiction by Edgar Wallace in that imprint. There's a few of those.
Yeah, they say that we have decent transcriptions now, thanks to Roy. So I just wonder, like, all these, there's so much stuff that was, the British of like the Penny Dreadfuls and I'd never heard of this magazine that you were talking about, and there's got to be many more magazines that I just, never heard of, and most people never heard of that are sitting there.
Absolutely loads, and you know what? If 90% of it is rubbish, that means there's thousands of pages which are great.
Well, the thing is, if it was easy enough to do, why not just, you could just republish. Even the rubbish stuff still has an interest in many ways because of what it is. Alex is here. Hello.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah, there's so much, and that's why I wanted to like, not just this stuff. Look at other fiction, like novels. Roy shows occasionally stuff. These are novels that are completely forgotten because they may never have made it into book form. They were just serialized in some little magazine, 150, 170 years ago. But also, too, there's lots of good essays. There's the people that write these, that just write essays that were always through magazines all the time, and newspapers. Like, don't forget newspapers as well for fiction. All sorts of stuff, and every Christmas,
including regional.
Yeah, and every Christmas, every magazine must have published some kind of ghost story, I would think, during that time. For December. So just think of how much stuff there is still out there that just hasn't been tapped.
Well, that's got to be comforting in a way.
Halfpenny Marvel, I believe, ran the first Sexton Blake story.
Oh, I've got a Sexton Blake, but I don't think it's the ones from Halfpenny Marvel.
I've got that too. Dave sent that to me. I've got that in there. Dave sent me that. A really small print, though. I remember it's like
it really is. I mean, including some comic strips as well. But yeah, I might have to get the magnifying glass out for that.
Yeah,
that's what he's doing on the cover. He's actually trying to read the damn thing.
Yeah. Before he jumped to the Union Jack. I saw a list one time of Sexton Blake stories. And
hundreds.
I think there was like 800 and some just on the one list, and they said I think that was just the novels, and then there's all the short stories or some stupid amount like that. If you think there's a lot of Sherlock Holmes pastiche, there is a ton of that. I think you might have one that does. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to look at. I think they're just over here. Because I've tried to keep those out aside because I wanted to peruse them and read them, but again, the print is just too small. I don't have strong enough light for that. So I do need a magnifying glass. But I had a chance to buy some of the Sexton Blake magazines a couple of years ago. There were a few hundred of them, and they were in pretty good shape. But I just, what am I going to do with them? Well, I know what to do with them, but it's again, like, where do you put them? And they're still out there, and they're not that expensive. Like, I occasionally see some on eBay for like £4 up to like 10 or 12 pounds. To me, that's not a bad price for some of these. But how long did it last? It probably lasted up into the 70s, I think. Something.
Yeah, I think it was one of the last holdouts, but I don't know enough about it. I knew enough to pick that up when I saw it, and I've since found out quite how much of it there is. Which didn't do my TBR any good at all.
Yeah, let's do a booktube thing of reading all the Sexton Blake stories in chronological order.
It's my new project for 2026. Read all the books.
Yeah.
Not just any genre, just all the books.
I've got a book. Buntline was the author's name. He took the nautical term, but he was probably the most prolific in the United States dime novel author. And he actually did sort of the mysteries of New York as well. But he wrote stuff on everything, literally. and this this is some of his westerns. This is a book, and the guy in the introduction was talking about the amount of material that were in the dime novels and how they were recirculated. They'd wind up in a newspaper on a different author's name and all this stuff. But he was saying that even conservatively, you figure out like the amount of different titles, and I forget how it was in the millions of novels that were written on this stuff because it was so popular. And like 98% of it is just gone. Most of it is just gone. But there's still, truckloads of this stuff left, even so.
Yeah.
But I forget how many, like the conservative estimate he had was just mind-blowing of the different titles that they actually were written.
Oh, it's the same for absolutely everything. I mean, think about all the paintings that have been destroyed. Or, I mean, okay, so I've been reading all of this Elizabethan stuff. It's like all of these plays. You see the lists, because people made lists of all the plays that were on, that were being shown each season. And it's like, yep, don't have that one anymore. Don't have that one anymore. Oh, we got that one. And, no, just gone. Well, not gone, just was never there. It was never a book to be lost. It was people's lines on different sheets of paper. Never got collated.
Yeah.
Never got seen again.
Yeah. Well, it is literally with everything, because it's I can't help there. I can't remember the exact quotation, but Thomas Carlyle, if you don't know, or I don't mean you specifically, but anybody else watching, historian, essayist, he started the London Library in the 19th century, but he said something basically to the effect that he didn't like the fact that there was too many documents like saved. Like he says, the only way to do history properly is if there's less documents. But just think if everything was kept, like all the stuff was saved in some way. It is too much. There's almost too much that has been saved in order to even sift through it.
Yeah, but isn't that fun?
It is, but it was kind of weird that someone that this quote is, or this sentiment he's saying, that it's just there's times when there's too much history to sift through to write history.
Well, you got to try to pick on what's important. I mean, there is every day more hours worth of YouTube uploaded than there was ever silent movies made.
Yeah, you got a point there. Yeah. Roy saying here Sexton was in paperback form for most of the 60s. There's more here. Do you remember Napoleon? 1927, it was saved reel by reel and then digitized. Well, there's talking about that in November. The new 7-hour restoration, 7 hour and 5 minutes of Napoleon is coming out, is being released in France.
Am I going to have to buy 3 TVs to watch that one?
It would be great if you could do that. I've seen it twice at the Royal Festival Hall. Yeah. And it's like, most of it you're watching like on a full, normal screen, and then all of a sudden when the triptych comes, the curtains roll out and you got 3 of them, and it's absolutely amazing. Let's see, if you think the full Sexton Blake collection might take a while to go through, try Jesus Christ, yeah. But not even, I don't think even a third of them have been translated into English. What was it? He didn't translate them, but Forey Ackerman, I think, Like he was behind maybe getting the first 100 or so that were translated, or I might be thinking wrong, but
Do you know what? I've never read one. I've always thing is I always see them about, but I always see number 25 or number 18. It's just like, well, if I ever see number one, I'll buy it. But like, yeah, I'll say life's too short. Mine certainly is going to be, for everything I want to read.
I've got number 2, I think, and I haven't read any either. And I've been searching for number 1 in order, because you can't start at number 2 because I'm so close. I'm so close. If all I could find was 20 something, fine. I know that you don't need to, like, it. From what I understand of the storyline, it doesn't matter where you start with this.
Well, no, I mean, it's like take it back to the top of the conversation, the 50th anniversary of Scooby Doo. Do you know what? If you've seen 1 or 2 Scooby Doo episodes, you get the picture.
Yeah, but it's fun watching them. But yeah, that's true, and they've been, but that's the original ones. Now I don't know what they've done with Scooby Doo. It's not like it
It's
was.
not Casey Kasem. I'm not interested.
I loved getting other people bought Batman comics, and people bought Superman comics and all that kind of stuff. When I went into the grocery store on the spinner thing, I wanted Scooby Doo comics.
One of my favorites, and I've no idea why, you may appreciate this as a Canadian, was Alpha Flight.
You've mentioned that before, and I'm not sure if I know exactly what that is. I'm not sure.
It's sort of like the Canadian X-Men.
Yeah, you see, I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
I was given a couple of issues. So when I was in Zimbabwe, you got to imagine there's no books, there's no comics, there's 2 hours of children's TV a day. There is very little going on. Someone who had come to visit gave me some Alpha Flight comics. That was it. Hooked. Sasquatch, Puck, North Star. I don't know.
Like
I'm speaking to a very small minority there.
Yeah, they probably were around. Like I said, when I went in, because there was like the general store thing, and there was a spinner rack of comics, and all I remember Daffy Duck. Like I remember those kind of things, and I know there were like Superman. I wasn't interested in those. Like I said, I wanted Scooby Doo and a few others, and that was it. And Alex saying he likes Scooby Doo, and Dave here says Alpha Flight had the first gay Marvel superhero.
That was North Star. I think he was still in the super closet in the issues I was reading, but yeah, he did sort of come out as gay.
Recently, if it's still going, or was it back
No,
then?
no. I mean, this would have been late 80s, early 90s, I think.
Oh, okay. So I was sort of thinking 70s and stuff, and I'm going, ooh, that's a bit risky, but
that's a bit too progressive for Marvel, I think.
Yeah.
I think the earliest it would have been late 80s. Don't quote me, but yeah.
Yeah, there was, yeah, but it wasn't actually. Was he called Captain Canuck? Was it? Maybe that is it, because there was a sort of Captain America, but for Canada. Was it called? I guess it was called Captain Canuck, because Captain Canada just doesn't sound right.
Well, as a member of Alpha Flight, who's pretty much like the Canadian Captain America, he's called the Guardian. It's got a nice, maple leaf design superhero spandex.
Was this a Marvel comic, or was it a specific Canadian comic?
No, it was Marvel. It was part of the Marvel, well, not cinematic universe. part of the Marvel comic universe at the time. So
Oh,
I think there's a little bit of crossover with Wolverines. I think Wolverine's Canadian.
okay. I don't know.
I mean, on comics, I'm on very dodgy ground, but yeah, they had like a so one of you had one who was like a Native American. You had one who was basically like the big, the strong man of the team. He was Sasquatch. You had a guy who was called Puck. Didn't understand why it was called Puck at the time. Obviously, it's an ice hockey thing. And yeah, there's Snowbird. I'm struggling now. This is decades ago.
That sounds familiar. Snowbird.
I think North Star had a sister called Aurora. Again, I'm stretching now. I'm gonna break.
I'm trying to remember, or trying to. There is a Canadian comic that started in Kitchener where I was, and I can't remember the name of it. It was I can't remember what it was. It was an animal was a thing, and it became quite popular. I think all over. Uh, uh, Trying to see here, but I can't find it on Google because you put comic in, and they want the people who stand up and make funny jokes. Yeah, Captain Canuck was one that's saying both an orb. I don't know what this is, but uh, it says folded in 1976. Uh, there was the flourishing of a domestic comic book whose black and white Canadian whites obtained original stories. Yeah, that probably wouldn't fly very well now. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find the one, but it was some kind of animal that it was all black and white. Oh, that's it. Dave's got it there. Dave's got it. Yeah, Cerebus. Yeah,
Oh,
the art.
I know that. I
Yeah,
know. I've heard of that. Have I read it? Don't think so.
yeah.
But
It
I've
says that
definitely
was the
seen it.
Canadian indie. Yeah, Cerebus, because the guy lived in Kitchener, and he had some of the characters, like they would go into a comic shop there that probably actually was the first North American sort of specialized comic and science fiction bookshop that there was in North America. Like a lot of places had claimed this, but this guy started his in the 60s in Canada. And I think, a very small, but I think he might have been the very first for it, but it doesn't get recognition. And when he died, his family just sort of stripped the business, and it just died. But I got so much stuff there, like science fiction, but his big thing was comics. And I think the Dave Sim he actually worked there at some point, and then started writing or doing these comics, and they were selling there, and then all of a sudden, yeah, uh, they they went globally, I guess. Yeah, because if you've heard of them here, I've never read them, but I knew about them. So
Yeah, I've not read them, but as soon as I saw the name, yeah.
Alpha Flight was cool. John Byrne did a bunch of them. See, I know the name John Byrne, but I can't place it with anything. A bunch of them, great art, and it felt fresh to have Marvel characters without baggage. Well, they were on Alpha Flight, so yeah, so they don't have to worry about their baggage. Art. Yeah, see, yeah, I don't know. It's just there's something, and I only started getting into comics a little bit was, I guess, sometime in the '90s, where J. Michael Straczynski, who did Babylon 5, started writing comics, Midnight Nation, and then Rising Stars, and then he went to Superman and Spider-Man and so forth. Like I don't know if he's still writing comics. I don't know, but I started buying some comics. I started buying his, and then I just fell in love with some of the cover artwork of stuff. And I never read these. I bought them just for the cover artwork. Like if I could have bought sheets, of the artwork and high quality things, I would have done that rather than the comics. But that's what I did. And the only ones that I did read that I liked was Alan Moore. I liked some of his stuff. Like I liked the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Well, there you go. I mean, Richard Burton could easily have turned up in that. He would have fitted right in.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the one thing I don't know why. I don't think he put him in any of the. I haven't read.
Well, they're all fictional, weren't they? They were.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah. But no, those I liked. Let's see here. Cerebus was originally brilliant, but Dave Sim eventually went out of his head and turned into anti-feminist, crazy, writing long editorials about the gay feminists. Oh, okay. That's weird.
Some of the less popular comics then.
Before that, we actually had Dave Sim and Gerhard in this very living room when they came over for a singing. Oh, okay. Yeah, because I think he lived in Kitchener, I think. Or at least he had some connection there, because I know that the bookstore that I'm talking about, which I can't even remember the name, is featured in some of the panels apparently. And I did buy, because they made them into sort of big sort of oversized trade paperbacks, and I bought a box of them somewhere in the States at a sale. At a book sale for like $1, I think, US. They didn't know what they weren't that much worth that much, but the thing was, I just remember buying those and then reselling them to a comic book store in Kitchener for a lot more. But they traveled all over the place. Anyway, I think we've been going for an hour and almost 45 minutes. This has been great. Thanks, Gavin. And
it's been a pleasure. Yeah, I've got to make a move anyway. Got to make some dinner.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to you about something I forgot at the beginning, but just hold on after in the green room. But thanks everybody for stopping, Dave and Roy and everybody else. It's been an interesting conversation, and thanks Alex for stopping by. And I'll be back next week. I don't know, hopefully on a regular basis. At least I'm going to try to. I've been trying to sort of work my resting and sleeping, so I got a few hours of half decent time. I do have a nice original Cerebus sketch that Dave made in ink and Gerhard color. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I remember it was kind of cool looking, but I never read it. I had no idea what it was about.
I remember he looked a little bit like Alf. That's all I can remember.
Yeah, I suppose it did. Yeah, well, it was an aardvark, so I suppose it would. Thanks, Roy. And we'll see you, or I'll see you next week, and maybe Gavin. Put your comments down below and say Gavin, and then we'll have him back.
No, don't do that. It sounds like I'm going to be burnt.
Bye, everybody.